Week 13 sneaky waiver wire ads. I'm Alan Seslowsky along with Jeff Erickson of RotoWire.com. There are two teams on bye this week, Jeff, the Arizona Cardinals and the Carolina Panthers. Your fantasy teams are in must-win situations with only 2 more weeks until the fantasy playoffs. Jeff, who's going to be your first sneaky ad heading into Week 13?
JaMycal Hasty on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Travis Etienne limped off with a sore foot. Doug Peterson said after the game that Etienne was cleared to return, but that doesn't necessarily mean he was fine and he was out of the woods. They try to do the safe thing. Foot injuries often react, stronger the next day too. We see this with ankle injuries too. So I don't know if he's completely out of the woods, but Hasty is going to be a pass catching back. He was even in there frequently when Etienne was healthy. Hasty looked pretty good in the passing game yesterday against the Ravens. I could see him getting some usage. They got a game at Detroit this week. Darrell Henderson is now a Jaguar, so this is something to watch for. And this is why, by the way, if you're Jacksonville or in real life, you see a talented player, you don't necessarily need him. You claim him anyhow because injuries happen, things happen. So I think the Jaguars got a free talent grab. They can see what Henderson can bring to the table for them. I don't know how much he's going to be up to speed. So I think I prefer Hasty this week if Etienne doesn't play. And that will just serve to depress his price. So, spend a couple bucks on him. Don't go crazy, but I think he's my first running back choice this week.
Lost in the New York Jets QB change and victory was the Michael Carter injury. Carter suffered an ankle injury in the second half of Sunday's game versus the Bears and did not return. Head coach Robert Saleh said after that Carter had sprained his ankle, but he wasn't sure how bad it was. Now, assuming Carter misses the next game or more, it's interesting that the recently acquired James Robinson was a healthy scratch. It was Zonovan Bam Knight who led the way with 14 carries, 69 rushing yards, 3 receptions, and 34 receiving yards. Bam didn't find out he was going to be active, Jeff, until the Saturday walkthrough. It was a surprise to him as well. Now, Ty Johnson did get the rushing touchdown, but the undrafted rookie got nearly 5 yards a carry to go along with his 103 scrimmage yards. So a little bit about Bam Knight. He's 5'11" and about 210 pounds. His best comparable is Khalil Herbert from a metric standpoint. At NC State, Bam amassed 20 rushing touchdowns in the 3 years he was there. And with the Jets offense now capable of completing a forward pass, the running game should be a source of fantasy points against the Vikings in Week 13. Teams that need a running back want to make sure they push in to secure Bam Knight as the clock is ticking on the regular fantasy season.
Let's talk Corey Davis. Corey Davis versus Elijah Moore is an interesting debate because Elijah Moore was probably cut in a bunch of leagues. People got frustrated with him. Maybe people picked up Moore once Mike White was named the starter. They saw Moore score the touchdown. Davis is the starter, though, over Moore. Moore got half the snaps of Corey Davis. And Davis, I think, got more targets as well against the Bears. This is, as you alluded, this is a good matchup on the road against the Vikings. You beat the Vikings through the air. That's how you do it. Their DBs are terrible. Even when they win, they give up 400 passing yards practically. Mac Jones had a big game on Thanksgiving against them. So we expect passing to be in favor here for the Jets this week against the Vikings. I expect Corey Davis to be an active part of this here. I think he's a good bet for 75 to 80 yards and about 6 or 7 targets.
Jaguars wide receiver Zay Jones finished as the wide receiver 4 in Week 12, Jeff. He earned 14 targets. 11 of them he caught for a whopping 145 receiving yards. Jones has been seeing nice volume all season with 5+ targets in 7 of his first 9 games and 8+ targets in 5 of those. The issue has been until Week 12, it didn't translate into fantasy production. In Week 13, the Jags faced the Lions, who are a bottom 5 defense against wide receivers. Go get Zay Jones and go start Zay Jones in Week 13.
Let's talk Jordan Mason on the Niners here. Elijah Mitchell hurt his knee as they fear it's another MCL sprain. Jordan Mason came and got some key carries for the Niners against the Saints yesterday. Christian McCaffrey got a little dinged up as well in this one. So we'll watch the injury report carefully, but Jordan Mason might be an interesting sneaky ad for us to pick up if you're desperate for a running back play. And I know leagues where I am desperate, so I will be going after Jordan Mason a little bit.
It's Week 13, and the Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson is back. He's going to be starting in Houston, his former team. There's a lot of unknowns here, but what we do know is that when we last saw Deshaun Watson, he was an elevator of all the players' fantasy value around him. In Week 12, we saw second-year wide receiver Anthony Schwartz show off his 99th percentile speed and execute a wide receiver end around, which he also did in college. Schwartz only had 2 targets, and he hauled in one of them for 17 yards, but the former third-round pick has upside with Deshaun Watson coming back. We do not know who Watson's preferred targets will be outside of Amari Cooper. Schwartz is going to be a free pickup after the waiver wire runs, and if you have room on your bench, this is the definition of a sneaky ad. You're going to want a piece of the Cleveland offense, and Schwartz is undoubtedly the cheapest upside bet. Let's talk a little quarterback, sneaky ad quarterbacks for single quarterback and for super flex leagues. What do you have?
If Watson's available, of course, you go pick him up. Consider Mike White. I think that's a great matchup. In fact, I'd go Mike White over Jordan Love, who may play for Aaron Rodgers, that oblique injury that he suffered on Sunday night is a big deal. And keep in mind that Green Bay's on bye in week 14, so I think Rodgers might sit this week. I think you're at the point in the season now. It's not stash season, it's plug and play season.
If you enjoy videos like this, consider hitting the like, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell to get notified when we put up new video content every single day. And right now you can see behind RotoWire's paywall our premium content for free. You just go to rotowire.com/try and put in your email, and that's it. And the paywall unlocks for a couple days. Every Monday through Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern time, you can hear Jeff Erickson along with Nick Whalen on SiriusXM channel 87, the fantasy sports channel, and tune in Sundays on that same channel at 9 a.m. as I join Jim Coventry as we get you ready for the week ahead.